Madam Foreign Minister, which specific initiatives or agreement do you hope to achieve following a joint communique that you signed on behalf of the government and people of Liberia? And how do you envisage those will strengthen bilateral relationship?
So the joint communique signed between the Ministers of Foreign Affairs of Liberia and Sierra Leone focused on the overall discussions that encompass the key interests of both presidents. President Bio and President Boyka both stressed the need for deepening the relationship. They looked at the historical ties, the cultural, the ethnic, and linguistic ties that the both countries share, and they spoke very deeply about the need for ensuring that Liberians and Sierra Leoneans achieve their development aspirations. They both, in their development plans, focus on agriculture, on ensuring food security. Sierra Leone has a program called Fee Salon, and of course we know our president, the first letter of his arrest agenda stands for agriculture, and his firm belief that diversifying our economy and focusing on feeding ourselves will make a difference in Liberia's development trajectory. So the communique looked at those areas, but also looked at peace and security. It looked at how we work together as two countries to ensure that the peoples of Liberia and Sierra Leone prosper. And it was not in line with MOUs for areas of intervention, but overall general aspiration. And we hope to move forward to the next step where we can have a joint commission between Liberia and Sierra Leone that will look at areas of collaboration.
In terms of security, when you were lamenting further, you also mentioned Africans. Is there any further detail about the Ivorians' interest in terms of the security component of the basin?
So what we discussed was the fact that there has been an MOU signed between Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, and that MOU is in relation to security, and it focuses on the need for intelligence gathering, sharing of information, joint patrols, and what have you. And Cote d'Ivoire just yesterday had signaled their readiness to sign into that MOU, and so that would be the entire MRU countries that will be part of that MOU, which is very important for peace and security for all four countries.
In light of your visit, the Mano River Youth Secretariat, how does Liberia plan to enhance collaboration with Sierra Leone and other member countries in addressing shared challenges such as security and economic development?
One of the discussions that was held was around the fact that we've been able to initiate a roadmap with Morocco that looks at key areas, 8 areas actually, including education and vocational training, health, peace and security, and several areas. And one of the things also is to ensure that we construct the secretariat, a permanent place. Sierra Leone has given us the land, and the 4 countries now need to invest, and Morocco has signed that MOU, which Liberia was able to lead on in terms of coordination. And that MOU paves the way for us to look at other areas as well. In terms of peace and security, it's a central feature, collaboration on security. You can't have development without security. You can't have development without peace and stability. So that's why we focus so much on that, and we cannot ignore the fact that our region is vulnerable. We know that the 4 MRU countries, we are the last frontier to the Atlantic Ocean. We're talking about the Sahel and the instability in the Sahel. We are a buffer literally before the Atlantic, and so we have to be very serious about maritime security and other related issues to avoid our countries being used as a place for continuation of instability.
As you're also engaging with the Liberian community here in Sierra Leone, what are some key concerns or aspirations that you have heard from the community, and how do you plan to address them in your foreign policies?
Well, the community, first of all, it was really great to see an economic fair at the embassy. The embassy had a fair that was primarily to highlight the work and the crafts of Liberians here in Sierra Leone. It was really great to see different things, including children and their artwork. And so you could see very clearly that Liberians here are being productive, but you also have Liberians here with challenges as well. and they have a strong community. They have community leadership. They're all working together, but they did make some points in terms of their own needs, and we did listen to their concerns that they raised. They praised the president and people of Sierra Leone for the way in which they've been able to live here freely and enjoy the rights and benefits of living here freely. But they also have their own challenges. You have some widows, you have some single parents due to the war, and you had children who end up being, child-headed households who end up being children raising children. And those things have social effects as well. So they have some challenges. We were able to engage with them. We were able to address some of the issues that they raised, and we'll continue to engage with them in light of the foreign policy that addresses that. Is the issue of the diaspora and how we continue to engage with the diaspora across the world. The diaspora doesn't mean the United States. The diaspora means wherever you are outside of Liberia, and we have the diaspora here in Sierra Leone as well, and they can contribute to our development also.
Okay, my colleague will now proceed.
Yeah, so we are actually following activities and women in leadership. I just want asking the president, telling him thank you, because that was one of my questions I posted to him during the last interview we had with him on Truth FM about women's participation on his campaign team. And he made a promise. He said, when I win, women are going to be involved, even though maybe it has not reached a certain amount, a number of a certain level, but I think we can grade him as, and congratulate him for standing by his word. So let's talk about, I know you have challenges on this job. Before I can go to other questions, how is it like? How is this position and like with you? I mean, I have been following so many, challenges. But you can better explain what you are going through. Maybe it will serve as a motivation to other women, emerging leaders who are females and who are also wanting to see themselves in the roles that you play in Liberia and at the international level.
So I'm glad you expanded the question to include the international level, because I've had different experiences in terms of leadership, being a woman in leadership. It has been very interesting to see how gender plays out around the table, and sometimes how a woman will have to articulate or express herself in order to be heard or in order to be accepted. And then it depends on which woman you are. Also, you would have to look at it from diverse views, but definitely for sure, one of the best things that I think we have as women in President Boyka's team is that he's an awesome boss. He's a very good boss to work with. He is very supportive of the women in his team, and he doesn't work with us any differently than he does the men, which is great. So he doesn't patronize you and make you feel as though he must, hold your hand because you're a woman. No, he treats all of us the same, and that's what's important, because at the end of the day, whether you're a woman or a man, it's about what you can do in terms of the results you can bring to the table. So I will say though, however, it is challenging being a woman in leadership in certain spaces, in certain places, and it's work in progress. But the work is challenging, but it's really good to have a boss who is very supportive.
Okay, so how is the ministry improving services for Liberians abroad, such as passport renewal or emergency assistance?
So we are looking at passport reform. We do need to have the resources required to be able to implement passport reforms. But what we would like to have is to ensure that we have e-visas. We would like to ensure that we have access to passport renewal across the world. There are means to do that. There are ways to do that. We wouldn't be able to do it for everybody, but at least we can improve access. And in 2025, we're hoping to do that. I won't go much into detail about that, but we're looking at ways to do that. We're also looking at decentralizing passports.
Okay. Madam Minister, let's bring you back to the trip. You're also here with line ministers as well. As Dean of the Cabinet, what is the message in terms of sectoral engagement with their counterparts that they're taking back home?
So we have had one of the what I can say is we've had intersectoral working session, and because it was a working visit, the Sierra Leonean side did a very good job in setting the stage for the working visit. So the two presidents gave top lines around the key areas of their development agenda and the key areas of interest, and then we were able to sit across the table, the two administrations, the two governments. So we sat across the table with the Chief Minister of Sierra Leone, the Acting Minister of Foreign Affairs. We had agriculture, information technology, communication. We had vocational training, civic education. All of those ministers from the Sierra Leonean side, and from our side, we had the Minister of Internal Affairs. We had the Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Information, Culture Affairs and Tourism. We had the National Security Advisor. We had Minister of Agriculture, but I didn't say that. The senior advisor to the President, economic advisors, both of them. So we had the DG of the Cabinet, and we had really, really good discussions across the table, looking at different areas, including media, how we deal with media, how we deal with diaspora. We talked about everything you can think about, and we really had some rich conversations around agriculture and how we can learn from each other. And we also had then bilateral meetings and some field visits. So agriculture had some discussions and was in the field looking at some agriculture areas of interest. The DG of the cabinet was reaching across to the cabinet secretariat here to look at performance monitoring and what we're trying to put in place in Liberia and what they've been doing here. And so of course we had different conversations. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Security Council, Sierra Leone is on the council now, and we're bidding for the council. And so we discussed their experiences, how they're structured, what has it taken. They discussed with me how much they had to spend in terms of setting up their office in New York and setting up teams and making sure that they had all the capacity they needed, recruiting consultants, and so forth. So there's a lot we had over the last 2 days in terms of sharing of knowledge and experiences. It's been really rich and rewarding as a working visit.
So all of what had been discussed and from one meeting to another, community or counterparts, what next? What next is implementation. So how do we start? Because is it going to be, I went live the day we entered Sierra Leone, and then we had almost 6,000, close to 6,000 people watching. And some of them, what they were saying, is the normal visit, the projects going. So people will be looking to see the outcome of this full or this work visit with the people of Sierra Leone. So what should we be looking out for after this visitation?
So one of the things we have to make clear is that you don't go on a visit and you come back with a bucket. That's not how it works in diplomacy and in building relationships. There are processes, and this visit here was the beginning of this administration's attempt to solidify and strengthen the relationship with Sierra Leone. The results that we have immediately is that a corridor has been open for us to deepen discussions in key sectoral areas. Where, like I said, the Minister of Agriculture was in the field today. We were talking with companies today. Companies that, for example, one company that imports palm oil from Liberia. They import palm oil from Liberia by shiploads, and they transport it through Sierra Leone. Palm oil that's produced in Liberia, Sierra Leoneans are getting a profit off of the palm oil. We had those discussions today. What does it mean for us? We talk about the common market. The common market is a very important conversation because of regional integration, economic integration. You have, let's take palm oil again. If you have someone interested in processing vegetable oil, for example, and looking at processing vegetable oil for Liberia, you'll be looking at it not only from a Liberia population of 5.4 million people, you should be looking at it from a population of almost 60 million if you look at the Mana River Union, and you're talking about one common marketplace. So those are some of the conversations we had. How do we start that? Going back, we need, as Ministry of Foreign Affairs now, to convene the different ministries to look at how we can work on a joint commission. And when I mentioned joint commission earlier, what it means is that we'll sit and look at the technical areas now that we want to actually implement together. We develop MOUs and then we sign. and then we move towards implementation. But one of the first ones we can do is the common marketplace with trade and investment. Remove the barriers to trade and investment across the MRU countries, starting with Liberia and Sierra Leone. And that's something the two presidents agreed on, and that's something we can do immediately. And we look forward to that, as well as peace and security and joint monitoring and so forth.
Thank you so much.